All right, let's just jump right in. Think about it. You probably make dozens, maybe even hundreds of decisions every single day. But what happens when a decision isn't just about you? What if it has to move an entire team, an entire organization forward? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We're going to explore why leaders' decision is a completely different animal. It's way less about just picking the right path, and a whole lot more about building the collective will, the resolve to walk that path together. So this really is the question that gets to the heart of the matter, isn't it? What is it that truly separates a regular, everyday decision from a leader's decision? You know, the answer to this, it really changes everything about how we look at leadership itself. And that leads us perfectly into our first section. We have to start by kind of redefining what we even mean by making a decision when it comes from a leader. It's a really critical shift in how we think about it. And this right here really lays it all out. You know, an individual decision, that's pretty straightforward. It's about you finding the right path for yourself. But a leader's decision, man, that's a whole other ballgame. It's not just about finding the path. It's about getting an entire group of people to believe in that path and to walk it with you, together. See, the goal shifts. It's not just about getting the answer right. It's about building this incredible collective resolve to actually make it happen. Which brings us right to the core purpose of all this. I mean, if it's not just about logic and finding the right answer, then what's it really about? Well, it's about inspiration. It's about moving people to action. Here's the key idea you've got to grab onto. A leader's decision isn't really judged on whether it was technically correct 6 months down the line. Nope. It's judged by the energy, the commitment, the motivation it sparks in the moment. The real win is turning a plan that's just words on paper into a team that's fired up and in motion. Now this quote, this really gets to the soul of what we're talking about. Let's just sit with it for a second. To inspire others to go beyond what might seem justified. I mean, wow. We are so far beyond simple compliance here. This isn't about getting people to just check the boxes or do the bare minimum. No, this is about lighting a fire. It's about inspiring people to pour their hearts into what they're doing, to find that extra gear, not because their boss told them to, but because they truly believe in where you're all going. So the big question is, how on earth do you do that? How do you actually inspire that level of commitment? Well, it turns out it requires a pretty specific toolkit. It comes down to 3 core qualities that build the foundation for any decision that truly inspires. So to get this right, we've got to take a fresh look at 3 words we probably think we already know. But in this context, they take on a whole new, powerful meaning. Let's break them down one by one. First up is transparency. And look, this is not about burying your team in a mountain of data or forwarding every single email. It's way more strategic than that. It's about sharing the right information to create a shared reality, a shared context. When you give people the why behind the what, they stop being people who just follow orders, and they become partners. And that shared understanding, that is the absolute bedrock of trust. Okay, next up, authenticity. This one is all about alignment. It's simple, but so powerful. Does what you say line up with what you do? And do both of those things line up with the values you say you have? When your team sees that consistency day in and day out, they see someone they can count on. And that creates this incredible feeling of safety and, of course, trust. And finally, let's talk about sincerity. You could say if authenticity is the what, then sincerity is the how. It's that genuine, from-the-gut belief in the decision you've made. And just as important, it's a genuine belief in the people you're asking to see it through. It's that emotional conviction that people can literally feel. It's what makes something a true call to arms instead of just another memo from corporate. So this all brings us to our final section where we tie everything together. Because when a leader really gets these qualities down, they transform. They stop being just a manager or a decision maker. They become something much more profound, an architect of their organization's resolve. Okay, so how do you actually become that architect? Well, here's the blueprint, right here. It's a 3-step process. First, you have to completely redefine what a decision even is. It's not a choice, it's an act of mobilization. Second, you have to lean into that mandate to inspire. Your job is to push people beyond just good enough. And finally, you've got to master those 3 core qualities we just talked about. Make transparency, authenticity, and sincerity your default settings. That is how you build a team that's not just competent, but genuinely resilient and all in. And so that leaves us with one final, really powerful question to think about. The question isn't just about what your next decision will be. It's about how you'll make it. How are you going to use these tools, this new perspective, to build belief, to create real momentum, and to ultimately architect the resolve within your own team?